You're listening to The Tuesday Club with Sean and Kyle.
Hello, welcome to the Tuesday Club. We're back. Me, Sean Holly, Kyle Reese. We're going to get straight into it tonight, Kyle, because we're lucky. We've got a very special guest. You'll have seen him on all sorts. Major films, Star Wars, Pirates of the Caribbean, great hit series like Stella, Afterlife with Ricky Gervais, and now the Tuckers. We've got the wonderful Steve Speirs.
How are you, boys?
Yeah, good, mate. Thanks for joining us. I know it's difficult with lockdown, but I guess this is something to do, isn't it?
It is something to do. I've had, the whole lockdown thing, it's, I don't know, I still get nightmares about waking up and having to do long division. Because the whole thing about having to do that with the kids was hard, you know. And I didn't mind, I was thinking, well, we're safe, we formed a bubble, we're wearing masks if we have to, we're not going out. So it was really weird that my fear wasn't the pandemic, my fear was looking at what was getting sent through from the school that night. Like, you know what I mean? You know, God. Don't tell me that. I was no good at it when I was there. And it's changed. It's changed from the way they taught us.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? It's like they've gone, right, what's the most difficult possible way we can teach this to the kids? They said, who hasn't got a clue with this? Let's get that bloke down there. I've got a good way. That's the way we'll use it.
It's that thing Danny Dyer said, didn't he? He goes, oh, my daughter comes home from school and one of the questions they ask her is, name me 7 different types of magnets. And he's like, a fridge magnet. And then I run out. He says, yo, you, cameraman, name me 7 type of magnets now. And he's like, I don't know. Silly things.
What were they ever going to use it? It's like when we were in school, you know, have you ever used algebra in your adult life?
No, it's absolutely pointless. You know, you go to... say whatever we do in our lives, whatever point to say there is, you want to go to the cinema. All right, how are you doing, mate? Fine. What do you want? I'll have a popcorn. I want 2 tickets for that. Just a moment, though. Have you considered what X minus RC is? No, I haven't really. Just give me the bloody tickets.
When was the last time?
Petrol, please, in the garage. You want a bit of petrol? Well, what do you want? Do you want unleaded? Do you want leaded? What do you want? Well, hang on. I'm not sure about that. Let's just work this out first. R2 minus 8. What is that about?
What's the acidity levels? What's the differentiating acidity levels in the petroleum? When was the last time you actually underlined something you wrote when you were made to do it in school every time? Make sure you're underlining that now, Mr. Reese. I can't say I've ever underlined anything in my life.
But man, listen, Steve, through all this, because I know as well as you're acting, you write, you direct, you're always thinking these things. Something come out of lockdown? I can imagine you're sat there thinking of all these funny things and things that come out of lockdown. Is there going to be a series coming out of
Mick, do you know what? I was very lucky that when lockdown happened, I was in the West End, right? I was doing the Ben Elton play Upstart Crow in the Gielgud Theatre. And it was literally, we didn't know what was happening. We were told that night, right? It was get out, get home, and it's happening now. It was very quick. In fact, I'm probably one of the few men that can say I was put into lockdown as I was in the middle of putting on a 12-inch codpiece. So, there's not many can brag about that. So it was, and then I was very lucky that I came back, and the Tuckers had gone down incredibly well the first series. So I'd had an early commission. And I was able to go into writing the Tuckers, and I was able to get very creative on working on that straight away. But, it's decimated so many industries, and the entertainment industry especially. I mean, it's the whole thing about what we do is it's a shared experience, professional sport, everything. It's been tough. And so the last thing I wanted to do, because they did say to me, hey, we could film this earlier if you write some stuff about COVID or stuff about lockdown. I said, listen, this will come out next year. It always up to 8 months after you finish it. If I put on a comedy show and I turned it on and they were chatting about lockdown, I put my book through the telly. Do you know what I mean? I think we've all sort of like
enough.
Want to get out of it.
Yeah. So apart from devising your own meal plans, which I've seen on your social media. Well, have you seen these stuff? It's class, like hula hoop, slice of cheese, and a bit of packet ham. And...
my lettuce surprise was a good one. My lettuce wrap, which had hula hoops, grated cheese, and salad cream. And the only surprise was that it didn't taste as shit as it looked. But I got to say, I did something last night. The wife and kids are away, and I've been trying to be creative with my recipes. But the good thing about being a grown-up with the kids away is you can eat whatever you want, can't you? So for tea just now, I had a bowl of crisps, some jelly babies, and a picnic egg, and that's all right because I don't have to set an example. But last night, I'm a bit disappointed with Twitter today because I thought I'd had a stroke of genius. I made a fantastic sausage and lentil casserole. I've got a wonderful butcher in Cardiff. He does the most amazing sausages. I bought these great chicken tikka sausages, very high quality. He's won awards, this bloke, and that. And I did it with my lentils, and I've got to say, it tasted great. And I put it on the Twitter last night, and it seems to have totally divided the audience, this one.
Really?
I mean, have a look at it. Well, you get half of them saying what's the recipe, and the other half saying it looks like something you'd find in the U-bend of a builder's bog. I've got to say, I did realise that I don't know how good you are at photographs, guys, but you try and photograph 2 sausages in a lentil bowl. And, I'm just going to leave that image hang with you.
I did see the picture. I seen the picture. I think I liked it as well, but I thought, it looked quite crazy. I give it a like, mate. I give it a like.
Talking of chicken tikka, I haven't had a takeaway for ages, and I thought I'd have one. And I had a tandoori mixed grill, right, which was lovely. And I on the menu was like this very hot and spicy chicken tikka kebab, and I like a bit of spice. And I like chicken tikka. God, it was awesome. Bombay spice, Kyle. Get down there. It's fantastic. It had a real kick to it, a real shock. But chicken tikka is fantastic, isn't it?
I absolutely love it. What about you? Which is yours, Carl?
We always ask these questions to people as well, Indian or Chinese. I'm a Chinese man. I am. I like it Indian. I'm not this big because I don't like food. But Chinese is my vice. That's the one that I would go, I'll get me some ribs and, some crispy chicken Cantonese style. I'm not too much.
And both of those meals had absolutely nothing to do with China whatsoever.
Yeah.
I'll have prawn crackers and chips.
All right, a UK Chinese then.
Yeah, okay, absolutely. No, we're talking. Hey, I tell you what, though. That was another thing that happened in lockdown, because suddenly you couldn't go out to eat, you couldn't go to a takeaway and pick things up. So you had to, everything shut down around me, you had to do Just Eat. You had to order it on Just Eat. And, I would go into a slight panic attack as that little bar started going across saying, your order's been placed, your order's completed, yes, you're successful. Because I was thinking, I was getting palpitations. I was thinking, is this going to work tonight? Because it was the one treat a week I was looking forward to.
Man, before we get into some of the other nitty gritty, I got to ask you, because the other thing, other than your meal plans, that has struck me and I've watched through lockdown is those outtakes from Afterlife. I loved Afterlife, by the way. I couldn't wait for the new season. I watched it back to back. I think it's incredible stuff. But when the outtakes come out, obviously they're absolutely hilarious. I just wanted to ask you, he's obviously trying, Ricky Gervais, isn't he? He can't wait to have a bit of a gag and a bit of a laugh. Is there ever a point where you go, do you know what, Rick? Let's just get this done,
Thank you, Bugger. I think the thing is, right, is that there's a sort of fluidity to it, right? So if you think when we're speaking now, there's rarely a gap and people fill in on each other's lines and that. And, there's never big pauses in life. We just sort of plow into each other. And so the thing with working with Ricky is often you've got the big speech. So I had pages of this bloke stood by a box of dog shit and waffling on. And and then what you do is you'd interject with him going, really? Oh, right. Yeah. And so you're not expecting those to happen, which brings out a reaction in you. It's like, Cal, one thing develops onto another thing. So you're suddenly in territory that you're not quite expecting, that you all find very funny. And what he's doing, because of the fact that as he's looking at you acting, he's directing as well, but he's also editing it in his mind. So he knows when you've hit something that he finds very funny. And rather than sort of lock that away and think, I'll use that in the take, he immediately responds to it
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
It's very. It's an infectious thing to be part of. I've been very lucky. I did extras with him and Steve, and then they invited me back to do Cemetery Junction, and then Afterlife, and and hopefully there'll be more. But it's the sort of thing that certain actors get that, and it's a process that you enjoy, and some people don't like that sort of fluidity. But the thing is, a lot of people say to me, "Oh, are you improvising? Are you making these things up that are making them laugh?" And the honest truth answer is no. The thing, well, what I always say about acting is if you can make it look like, the skill is to make it look like you're not acting, isn't it, really? Yeah. So that people think that you're not acting. And I have been told that many times before by directors. They say, you're not acting, you can't act. And that's why I don't work with people twice often. There we are. That's just
I only got to look at Steve Merchant, mine, and laugh. I think he's brilliant in that extras.
Yeah.
Do
you know what? I think his scenes in Afterlife were great, Steve. But I don't think it tops the come on for dinner, me and you, and like with the voice, let's go for a bit of a meal. And he's like, "What? You would go for a meal? Two grown men?" That was pinnacle. You and Ricky Gervais in those scenes and extras was that's when we first met. I was fortunate to meet you a few weeks ago. We did the Prostate Cymru walk. The first thing I saw was, oh, there he is. Look, there's the extra and the security guard, the copper, asking Ricky Gervais to go for dinner to the boys' night downtown town. It's and the soup, and I don't know if you've seen it, Sean, but
yeah, I've seen it. Yeah,
it's when he puts his head in the soup, and your reaction is just like, it's just comedy gold, man. It's brilliant.
It's weird because it's been a while since we shot that, and we had a great laugh. If you look at that scene with the soup actually, there's very rarely a shot where the two of us are in it together, because he'd often be out of the room pissing himself when the camera was on me. And then I'd go when he was on there. So we sort of like shot around it, It's very rare that we went together. But I get people, it's the one show I've done where people come up and can literally tell me the script line for line.
Yeah.
And know it. You know when you're involved in something that's become a bit of a cult sort of thing, because that happens. And the thing is, fellas, I was really, really lucky because Sam Jackson, possibly the coolest man in the world, was over to do the episode. And up until then, all the episodes had very much been about the guest star, and you couldn't get bigger than Samuel L. Jackson. But he was only over here for the day, and he was doing Parkinson in the morning, and then he was doing us in the afternoon. So we literally had him for an afternoon, and there was another actor, they just blocked him in, moved him, and then Sam came in, stood where he was told to do, did his bit and disappeared. So therefore it was an episode where there was room for development of this other character, which was the one that I played, So yeah, it was a really lucky coming together of certain things that ended up in, it was a treat. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. And, it's still a bit of work I'm proud of, really. So yeah.
Mate, what's the best thing you've ever done, Steve? You've been involved in so much, whether it be writing, directing, acting. What's the best thing you've been involved in?
I personally think it's my sausage and lentil casserole. Well, having said that, I'm having a look at the photos as I'm speaking to you, and it doesn't look too clever. I'm probably most proud of the Tuckers because I created it. It'd been a long. It's based on my family. I really wanted to. It's written from a place of love, so I really wanted to write that and do that. So, on a personal level of pride, I'm thrilled with that. I mean, I've done things that... It's a really interesting question, that, Sean, because the things that people think you're going to say, like Star Wars or something like that. Like, Star Wars, I can't remember much of the shoot. I think I was going through a bad divorce at the time, and it's all wiped out. I can't remember. It was one of my divorces. Anyway, no. No, I was doing Star Wars, and what I do remember about Star Wars is not so much the filming of it, because there was a lot of green screen, and you'd be sat on a step ladder, and then George Lucas would say, "Oh, that's a horse" type thing. I didn't really get my head around it. But afterwards, I went to conventions, and now, you know this, Cal, the stuff that you do, right? So there is a circuit out there of conventions of people that go to meet the people in these cult TV shows or cult films and that. And it was, for a couple of years, the most fascinating experience because, you know, I'd be in Germany and in a hotel, witnessed Kenny Baker, who played R2-D2, and was a very angry little man, Kenny. I don't know why they called us at this time. I don't really understand what's happening. But you know, she was very angry, Kenny. Am I allowed to swear in this podcast?
Yes, you could swear.
Oh, he was fucking camping. He was.
Oh.
So having an argument with Pete Mayo, who played Chewbacca, right? Pete's like 7'9", and Kenny's going, have you had your fucking expenses? Because I haven't had anything yet. And Pete's like going, listen, chill out, man. Just chill out. Right? It was an incredible experience, and you know, I witnessed them. There was, do you remember Jabba the Hat? Right, the big Jabba the Hat. Right?
Yes.
So Jabba was worked by 3 puppeteers. Right, there was the left arm, the bloke who did the right arm, and then a lovely guy called Mike Edmonds, who was a midget. You've got to be very careful, Mike, as well, to say if you're a midget or a dwarf or little people. But Mike would say, you know, I'm not a dwarf, I'm a midget. I'm a midget, not a dwarf. And this was just the terminology that these guys were talking about, or little people. But Mike was the tail of Jabba the Hat.
The tail.
Now, so you had the left arm, the right arm, and Mike in the tail, moving Jabba. That's how Jabba moved. But the left arm had a row with the right arm, and they would not talk to each other. And Mike was the only one that got on with the left, and the tail that got on with the left arm and the right arm. So if you went to a convention, they would never appear together. So people who wanted Jabba signed, right, they had to have his left arm signed, his right arm signed, or his tail signed. So they'd have to go to various conventions to get the whole thing signed. And I was in Germany, and I was telling this story about how I got the job, which was, you know, about I'd been in the theatre and George Lucas had seen me. I gotta say, I was listening to myself going, you're sounding a bit of a Ponzi actor here now. And I think George found there was something interesting in the timbre of my voice. I'm thinking, oh, shut up, Steve. You're making a dick of yourself. And they were saying, how did you get the job? And then they gave the microphone to Mike and said, how did you get the job? And Mike went, well, George said to me, can you fit in there?
Can you fit in there?
I was cast, I could fit in the tail.
You got the job. You can get it.
You got the job. You're in.
You can get it. Oh, God. So you met Kyle recently on this this walk, the big walk. I did it last year, the year before, and
last year, I think you did it.
For Pro State Cymru. It's not easy, is it?
Well, I got to say, it was easier than it could have been if we'd had to do it in one day. But we could do it over the month. So I did sort of like, you know, 4 miles here, 6 miles there, sort of thing, and added it up. But no, 26 miles on its own in one day is not easy at all. I mean, you did it in one day, didn't you, Ben?
Yeah.
Did you do your shot?
I did it in one day, yeah. And it was, my knee just swelled up, you know. I tried to keep reasonably fit, but bloody hell, you know, you're pounding away.
Yeah. And it's hard roads. And you know, it's not, you know, the thing with it is if you're going up and down over hills or, you know, roads in the terrain all the rest of it, and you're normally on a road with pavement, that's really hard on the old joints and that, isn't it? It's a long old walk, that is. So everybody did it in one day, fantastic. But I mean, the main thing is we all got together, we'd all done it over the month, and I think quite a lot of people got involved with this. It was on, it was obviously distanced and on social media, but you know, it's a great cause, and they worked really hard there to raise money for an important issue. So yeah, it was good to be involved with it.
Yeah, it's good. There's a lot of the rugby boys involved as well. I host some events for them, you know. People like Bob Norster, Eddie Butler, they're great fellas, aren't they? You know?
Oh, they're wonderful. Well, Eddie, I saw Eddie, I'd never met Eddie before. I mean, how old is that man? He still fits into a pair of 34-inch jeans.
I know. He's cool as you like, isn't he?
He's cool as you like, this man. So I said to him, look, could you do the voiceover for this little skit I'd written at the end of it, with us all walking in? Because I just wanted that gravitas of Eddie's.
He's brilliant at those, isn't he?
I know. I was disappointed when I spoke to him that he wasn't really speaking in poem. I thought Eddie's always going to be speaking poem. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. When you meet him, you must be speaking in poem, yeah.
You must be speaking in poem. Yes, that's the number photo, yeah.
That was me running in. I was chatting away to somebody who was asking me about what I do. And I turned around, and all the boys were having a photo. So I was like, wait for me. And I just ran and stood next to Eddie Butler. I was like, oh my God, I got my hand on Eddie Butler's waist, yeah.
Yeah. So there was Mike Bubbins, me, Scott Quinnell, he's a unit, isn't he? Gareth Edwards, Eddie Butler, and you. Yeah. I mean, look at Eddie. He looks
Spot the odd one out there, Kyle.
I wouldn't like to say they're all legends. Sitting on the fence.
Talking of rugby, Steve, it's back. Some guys, we know you love your rugby.
Yeah.
Remember you and I and Shane had a couple of pints after that meeting we had regarding a film you're looking at called Rugby Girls. But have you watched any of it? Have you had time to take a look at it?
I was so excited about it. I mean, I tried to unsubscribe from a lot of things. That's what I hate about rugby these days as well.
Yeah.
Is that you've got to go to so many people to get it. I mean, I got out of PT Sport because they weren't showing me any sport. No. And then you suddenly realise you've got the Gallagher starting up. Sky, we all have our our buttons. Sky know that. They know that there'll be something which will drag us to Sky eventually. And for me, it was rugby. And that's what I took on Sky. And no sooner had I gone there than they started to sell it all off to other places. So it's very frustrating. So you've got to try and get it in pockets now. So, I tend to watch the Pro 14, all of it, because I've got the Premier.
Brilliant.
And then you'll get one match on Channel 5 with the Gallagher, and I'll try and catch up with the highlights then with Flats on a Monday and that, But yeah, I watched it. I thought that, I was actually surprised about how sharp a lot of people were coming back, especially the Leinster-Munster game, which I thought was
a great game.
What a game, I mean, Rimos is just had a classy game. Standers a real nuisance, whatever, and only turnovers equal. But they were really knocking into each other, and it was a very good game of rugby to watch, down to the wire. I did enjoy the Dragons Ospreys match as well. It was a draw, but especially I thought it had a lot of rugby excitement. But I really, and there's another a new Adam Jones to look out for in that. I thought that left.
What a start he had to have, didn't he? Yeah.
Oh,
what a first game.
All of that going on, a red card, and George North, he's he's got balls of steel. Yeah. He's either brilliant or he doesn't know what he quite did. He's going to wake up and go, what the hell did I do that?
No, he's been coming up the rails, to be fair. They've been pushing him, and it's probably a good. Well, I say it was a good one. It's a baptism of fire, wasn't it? He had to make the call, and it's all gone his way, really. Fair play.
Yeah. No, I thought he was great. But I did love. I loved watching Cardiff, the Blues and Scarlets, because there were a couple of really good tries there from Steph Evans, and I know that there seems to be a thing in the modern game now that people play sort of like 1-3-3-1, and they try to get these big boys on the wing, so there's a mismatch and you get a big giant steaming over a little winger. I just still love the sight of somebody that's got pure gas on the outside. That's that kick ahead and hit down. That was, what was that? 10% chance to get in that. 0.10%. But so there was enough to keep me excited, and looking forward to next weekend. But I mean, there's nothing like being in the ground or having the atmosphere of it. And I don't know how the boys are coping with nobody being there.
It's eerie, mate. It's different. Everyone's wearing masks, and I said this on another podcast last night. I like to give a little bit of passion, a little bit of enthusiasm in my commentary. I just think because I'm in there, and two, I just like that sort of thing. I think it just lights it up a little bit. And having not done it for a while, in I go, cans on. You know what it's like, lip mic. I'm with Shane, so I'm excited, but he's a couple of meters away. Wyn Griffith is another couple of, but I'm up for it. We're back, and then it was it was early try for George, early try for Ashton Hewitt, the red card. I'm getting a bit excited. I'm thinking about half time. I have to go down to pitch side because I'm doing a little bit of half time with Ross. On my way down, I realise there's nobody in the stadium. Maybe 100 odd people, S4C crew, stewards. But I realised they must have all been listening to me, echoing around the stadium, shouting my commentary. I was mortified. I was thinking, oh my God, no. Got the Scarlets, the Dragons coaching team were right next to us. They must have heard every word I said. I was like, Jesus.
Do they put the crowd noise through the stadium?
Yeah, but the stuff we've seen on the telly at the moment, it was pretty good, isn't it? With the football, there's oohs and ahs and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
With that game at the Liberty on Sunday, it was just like a drone of,
Yeah.
you know, it
I
wasn't
think
the same.
Nick Tompkins was the first one that's come out now and said he absolutely hated it.
Right.
I think I read somewhere today. I think it was probably BBC Sport. Well, it's the only sport news I read. But yeah, he's come out and he said that he absolutely hated it. It put him off.
Yeah, they can hear it coming in the ground.
Yeah,
yeah. But in fact, at one point, there was an incident, and it was so mundane, so boring. Shane turned around and said to me, and all live on commentary, he said, "The pretend crowd are getting feisty." And I said, you know, because we like that, me and Shane. I said, to be fair, they cheered all day.
And, you know, the thing is that, I mean, for me, I'll be honest, I get annoyed with it. I'd rather just watch it without, you know, I don't need to know somebody press a button to make a cheer or a clap because there's been a good phase or a good play. I know when there's been a good phase or a good play. I can make my decision, you know. So I sort of find it quite annoying, but yeah, mind you, 100 people in a big stadium like that sounds like some of my comedy gigs, mate. I tell you what, no.
Mate, let's talk about Wales. Imagine an autumn international, the one that's moved to now the 8 nations with Japan and Fiji possibly, but we're in a group with England and Ireland. Yeah. Imagine the Principality Stadium or even Twickenham with nobody in. Can you imagine that?
I don't understand it, right? It's very frustrating for me, and it's one of the things that, you know, it's one of these anomalies of lockdown that really does my head in. You know, for example, my wife and kids went over to Poland last week, and I took them to Bristol, rushed back to make sure that my sausage and lentil casserole was going well. It's a week in the making this thing. You don't get those sort of stains in the toilet without putting a bit of preparation into it. And anyway, no, seriously. So she showed me photographs. They're on a plane, right? People are going to Greece. People are going 4 hours on a plane. I promise you not. There were people that weren't wearing masks there. Of course, they're having water, doing things. Okay, you're on a plane for 4 hours. It's allowed, and we're trusting people. How on earth can we not go into a stadium which is outdoors with all the recent research from the WHO suggesting that there's very slim chances of getting it from an outdoor, even if you have one every other seat, or the same for the theatre, you know, our decimated business. At what point are we going to say, well, if it's good enough for a restaurant, you know, I can sit in a restaurant, I can go on an airplane, but I can't actually go in a stadium and watch a game of rugby.
Or a theatre. I saw that Andrew Lloyd Webber piece, you know, and he was really eloquent and made real good points. I mean, I've been down to my local, Kyle. We've been down there. I mean, that's worse than an aeroplane, I think.
Where is your local? Where is your local?
The Brit pub, who are our partners here on the Tuesday Club, the Brit pub in Carmarthen. You must come up, mate. You must come up. It's fantastic.
I just want to point that out now. Sean's so, like you said earlier on, everything's fluid. He's so slick with these now. You just asked him where our local was. He's gone the Brit pub. And in his brain, he's gone, no, I shouldn't say it like that on the podcast. And he's instantly gone, the Brit pub. It's our local. It's where your friends are.
Sean Burgundy kicks in. But yeah, you know, I mean, don't tell me, you know, at an Ospreys Dragons game, you'd barely get 6,000 anyway. So you could socially distance them in there. Yeah. You know, and you'd have an atmosphere.
Well, you know, I was going to say that. What are the gates going to be in a lot of these anyway? Now, I've been to see, you know, Cardiff and Scarlets play in Cardiff, and it wasn't full by any means. You know, you could still definitely get the crowd in, even if you do work in at 50% capacity. But so it's one of those anomalies that I think has got to be addressed at some point with live sport. Live theatre.
Nobody wants to put their name to it, do they? I mean, I went for a walk down a beach that shall not be named when we had that bit of a heat wave. Jesus, that's gonna. Honestly, that's worse than a stadium or definitely a theatre with socially distancing.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just killing our industry. You know, you've been writing. I have up until last Sunday. I hadn't worked for 5 months. You know, it's nice break, but you know, there's actors and all sorts of freelance people behind in front of the camera that are struggling. You know, but anyway, what's next? If lockdown was to go away come January, other than the writing of the new Tuckers, what's next?
Well, hopefully there'll be the filming of it as soon as possible, really. So, so there's a few little projects. When I say I can't talk about these, because you sound like a right old dick. But yeah, I can't really, because as soon as you do it, you'll jinx it and they won't come off. And also they're things that they're just about to be greenlit. But yeah, it's going to be a very, very exciting year if things get greenlit, you know, in the way that we hope them to. So, yeah, fingers crossed. It'll be a good year onwards, and I just hope that that'll be the case for so many people with, you know, in loads of industries. It's been a really tough time, hasn't it? You know what I mean? But podcasts seem to be doing very well. You know, people have got time on their hands.
Yeah, and new ways of working. You know, I've been working with Guinness Pro 14 on not just podcasts. We released one tonight called The Analyst's Eye, which is me and Murray Kinsella, and we've been doing a lot of analysis while we're at home of the games, and we've put it out in a little 25-minute show, and we had James Duffy from Connacht, a breakdown coach, and we put it out tonight. Have a look at it, mate. It's
I would love that, actually.
Yeah. Well, more discerning viewer, when I say that, somebody who appreciates that sort of deep dive into the rugby, you'll have a look at that. Just have a look on the Pro 14 social medias or Facebook or YouTube. Okay. And it's only 25 minutes, and let's give me your feedback, mate.
I like that, you know, because it's great. You know, my boy is a professional rugby coach with. He's in one of the posh boy schools in Sussex, and so he works for the RFU, and so a lot of stuff he does as well is in the counties. He feeds onto Harlequins and that. And brilliant. You know, it's like with you and your analysis, Shawnee. I mean, it's great. I love your analysis on Scrum 5 and that. And thanks, what it's doing for us who are lovers of the game is just giving us some more structure and knowledge about things. Because, you know, I mean, I played and I enjoy playing, but, you know, when I played, you know, props were meant to do one thing. If you ran more than 2 foot with the ball, then, you know, you'd think that was the best thing of your season. Let's get to the basket as we can. And it was a great moment for all. You know, I was robust is the only skill I had, really. I did say to some interview, I could have played for Wales many times, were it not for a total lack of ability, any core skill whatsoever, and any sort of sense of fit. But so I think more and more people are getting into, because you never had that sort of analysis when we'd watched rugby in the 70s and 80s and early 90s. And now what is great is that coaches, ex-coaches, analysts are coming and they're giving us another look into the depth of it, which is why I hate armchair critics sometimes when you go.
Oh, man, you get them. You know it, and you were a business, mate. You get them. But at the end of the day, all I've done, and it was great at Scrum 5 to ask me on back, 2012. But I've just brought what we would do in the coaching room with the players to the public. And it's, you know, I'm not trying to teach anybody to suck eggs, because there are people who know the game, but it's more about perhaps, because when you watch it once, you miss so much, and then the next day you forget so much.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, oh God. Or I tell you what I love is when somebody says, I saw that. I told my mates in the pub, I saw that, you know, you're right there. Yeah.
That's it.
Because it's giving them that kudos as well. I love it.
And also what it is, there's a sort of collective experience there, and they know that we're seeing the same thing. And, you know, the other thing is that, you know, a lot of people who perhaps don't watch live rugby or they don't go and see it, especially from the players' point of view, how quick it is, the speed of things. And on that pitch, the speed of what's happening in front of you, the process in which the decision has to be made, but also the blur of things that are happening around you. Of course, the players need to look back at it, because within that moment, there were a load of things going on.
Did you see, there was a couple of things by World Rugby, how the game has changed in 25 years of professionalism. The total number of players in 95 professionally were 1.5 million. There are now 9.6 million. There are 127 member unions now. There were 71. And these are the ones, things like this. Back in 95, there were 24 scrums a game, right?
Yeah.
Now there's only 14 a game. There were 38 lineouts a game. Now there's only 24. And this is the big one. The ball was in play for only 27 minutes in 95. Now it's in play nearly 40 minutes. So you talk about speed.
Now, this is interesting, right? That's an interesting stat, that is. The prostate camera walk with Kyle. I was chatting to Scott Cornell and Gareth Edwards, and we were chatting about the match that Scott had played in the Samoan and Wales game in rugby league. And he was saying that he'd come from Union at that time, and suddenly he was playing for, it was in play for like, I can't remember what it was like 68 or 69 minutes, right, within league and that. And that's a frightening stat. But although you say there were loads more scrimmages in the 90s, if you go back to the 70s, I've been watching the stuff over lockdown that you can get on YouTube and all the rest of it. And there's some good stuff. There was, and also Scrum 5 put some great matches out as well that I hadn't seen for a long time. But if you look at those games, there was a Barry John, Karen James 15 match. There was a lot of the Barbars and Wales match, for example, at that time. Barbars and New Zealand match, sorry. But if you look at those games, when a scrum happened, it was not the event it is now.
No,
right?
It was a fold in and go.
Go down, you'd bang, you'd hold, it'd be back. It was, and basically, so if you look at it in its essence, it's a way of restarting the game of rugby. And for me, if the ball is at the number 8's feet, well, let's crack on with it. If it's got back, how many times is a game about to continue and there's it's unfortunate because as soon as there's a knockdown from that moment on, it feels to me it's no longer the player's game. Yeah. It's now the referee's game. Yeah. He's in control for that. And the more we do to make it back to a player's game,
totally agree.
Better,
Drives me nuts, mate, because the other thing, and this has been a big bugbear of mine, with all these scrum resets and that, and so you will know this watching it, the clock still ticks. So as a viewer, you're being shortchanged. It's a reset, another reset. Rather than stopping the clock, we've lost that time for a ref to talk, for somebody to adjust his shorts, to get his bind again. It drives me crazy.
And look, believe me, I prop, so I know that the art of it is incredibly important, that these are, the position is incredibly important. But the bottom line is if you let them take care of it, I think it would happen quicker. Yeah. And also, aren't there not new laws now that we've been introducing? I'm not sure when. They always seem to come in down under before us with the Southern Hemisphere. But I find right in thinking this. There is a new law now whereby if you're held up, that is the worst scrum that you're involved in as a spectator from that point on, because now the 5 metre scrum, the reset for that's when somebody's going to be naughty and take it down. Would you want to take it down if it becomes, I've seen them gone for 10 minutes. I remember Wales, Australia was 10 minutes of this stuff. But is the new law, Sean, not if it's held up, it's going to be a dropout rather than that? So at least that gets the game going quickly again.
That's been trial in Australia, in the Super Rugby Australia only. So what happens, Kyle, in those games, as Steve says, you take the ball across the line, but you're held up. You used to get a scrum 5. Now the defending team gets a dropout from the goal line. And they're trialing that in Australia, but they haven't done it in New Zealand, and they're not doing it up here in the north. So
how's it working? Is it working?
Yeah, I think it works. One, it speeds the game up.
Yeah.
And two, you've got to think twice about just trying to charge over the line close to the line. You've got to try and work out ways of finding space to dot it down. So I quite like it. I also like the 50-22 law that they tried in Australia. Yes, so a bit like the 40-20 in rugby league. That's a good one as well.
Yeah. So it's got to bounce in. It's got to bounce in though, yeah?
It's got to bounce in. But that brings back the old white butt kick, doesn't it? The old crossfield, the old Gareth Edwards in the 8-9. Ooh, lovely in the diagonal.
But whilst you're reminiscing about famous Welsh greats kicks, boys, we're going to come to the end of the podcast soon. But thank you so much, Steve, for coming on. We can't let you go, mate, without asking you some quick fire questions we ask to every guest, not just the entertainers.
Oh,
So I'll start off with your top 3 movies of all time, if you can, Mr. Speirs.
you know, what that is. Godfather. As
Which
a thriller.
part?
First one.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't go with 2. It's too many subtitles in it for me. You can obviously tell now that Jean de Frouette, Man on the Sauce, will not be on my list as a man who does not like reading subtitles. Godfather, Spinal Tap,
Great film.
Sixth Sense, Shawshank Redemption,
Yeah.
Galaxy Quest.
There we are. We've had 2 extra ones. We've never had that before.
Here we are. Perfect.
The second question is, well, it's the same really, but it's not the top 3 or anything. What have been your favourite things you've been watching in lockdown? What have you really loved?
Oh, well, I tell you what I got into is the Netflix documentaries and that. So, I mean, I think Tiger King took us all over, didn't it? I mean, he is absolutely bonkers.
Carol Baskin.
Oh,
She just won a lawsuit, didn't she? She won a big lawsuit to take over one of the rivals or something.
yeah. Oh, I mean, that was just absolutely mad as a bucket of wasps. And so I loved that. I liked The Last Dance,
Yeah.
that's really incredible, because I don't know a lot about basketball at all, but I started watching it, I was pretty hooked in it. And it's a really interesting thing which I'm sure has caused debate about, is that bullying that went on there within the way that he approached the game? Or was it literally somebody who is dragging people and saying, look, we built the trampoline, you've got to jump on this as high as you can. You know what I mean? So I thought that was interesting. A real treat was getting all the Bond films on telly. Have you noticed that? They've gone right from the beginning.
On ITV2, was it?
Yeah. Oh, I've taped them all. It's fantastic. I watched Fear City, which was a great documentary again on Netflix. It's there about the mafia in...
Yes, I watched it.
I watched it. You put me onto that, Kyle.
Yeah, something against the mob or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, what do you think of it?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I'm everything mob related, mafiosos, gangsters from those early 30s up until like the late 80s when they all sort of got put away. That's my bread and butter. I love it. Me and my dad used to watch it when I was from 15 all the way up.
Well, do you know that? Because that was really interesting, because the shots they were showing in that documentary, it could have been shots from Goodfellas. You could have gone, oh, that's actually Goodfellas. It looks exactly like it, the movie. Goodfellas is actually incredibly near to what was happening at that time, isn't it?
Well, the Goodfellas was taken. I can't remember the name of the book now, but it was. I think the book was called Wise Guy, that they wrote the film Goodfellas from, and the guy who wrote the book, and then obviously they turned it into a screenplay and a movie, was Ray Liotta's character. So it was pretty much not far off what he did when he became mobbed up type of thing. I'm going to ask you a question which is unrelated to any other questions I got for you. Can you name the original 5 Italian New York families?
Oh,
I know.
Come on, boys, come on.
Okay, I know one of them was
I
called
can't.
Fat. The father was called Fat somebody. The Gambinis.
Gambino.
That's one.
Okay.
Fat Tony, you're thinking of.
Fat Tony.
Yeah.
Fat Tony. Fat Tony.
So you got the Gambino family.
The Gambinos.
Another one beginning with L. Do you remember?
The Maseratis, the Reccis. Lucchesi. Near enough.
Shall I just give them to you? So you've got Gambino, Lucchesi, Bonanno, Colombo, and you've got to get the last one. Come on. Come on, there's one more.
I'm going to kick myself.
I can't remember either, so I was just hoping one of you. I've set myself up for a fall there.
I can't hear you.
The last question I got for you, Steve, is if there was going to be, I hope there is, because I want to play your son in something. I said that to you the other day. I think it's right now, before Sean Hawley gets rid of all this fat on my body, I want to play your son in something because I think it's a match made in heaven. But anyway, In the movie epic, Steve Speirs the man, who is going to play you?
Johnny Depp. Because there's a lot of similarities, you know, physically, obviously. I think we share the same gentle aesthetic look. The only thing is our careers are slightly different because he tends to play romantic leads and I play sort of tragic buffoons. So I think he'd have a bit of acting to do, but yeah, I'd go with Deppy. I mean, he's as good as Deppy. I'd say little Deppy boy.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, excuse me.
Right, just a round up.
Now, why are you laughing? You're going to play my son. So you're going to play my son. I'm about 70, am I? Jesus.
I was going to say, that's a bit cheeky, isn't it?
I know.
You don't know how young I am, Steve. I could be in my late 20s.
Get that beard off. You'd be playing my bloody brother.
Oh, no, I look about 10 years younger without this beard.
Steve Speirs, you've been brilliant on the Tuesday Club. We're going to let you go very shortly. One last thing. We do this to all our guests. We've got a quick fire questions. We haven't prompted you on this.
Right.
No ambiguity, quick answers. Right. We're going to take Steve Speirs up and under. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Chinese or Indian?
Ooh, Indian.
Big stage or big screen?
Screen.
Cardiff or London?
Cardiff.
Dragons or blues?
Oh. Blues.
Guinness or beer?
Beer.
Acting or directing?
Ooh, acting.
Ricky Gervais or David Mitchell?
You bastard. Well, there's one I really like called Ricky Mitchell, so I'll go with it.
Class. You've been class. Steve, thanks so much for joining us on Tuesday Club. Stay safe in lockdown and wish you all the very best with the new Tuckers. It's absolutely outstanding.
Thank you, man. It's been a pleasure. And if they're all as good as this one's been, I'll start to listen to them.
Okay, pal. Thanks for that. Just don't follow Flats and Shanks anymore.
Cheers, Steve. You're an absolute legend, mate.
Cheers, boys. Thanks a lot.